and welcome to the Food and Beverage Leaders Podcast. I'm Andy Barr, owner of Barr Transportation. We're so glad you joined us today. Now, our mission here is very simple at Barr Transportation. It's to provide you with the most reliable and honest national transportation for your goods, paired with proactive communication throughout the entire life of the load. Now, this podcast is designed exactly for you. It's for sales managers, produce managers, logistics managers, traffic managers, the entire C-suite, anyone else who really wants to perform at the top of their game in this global food and beverage industry. So whether you're big or small, West Coast or East Coast, this podcast is meant for you. Now make sure to stick around at the end of each show and we'll reveal how you can apply to be on the show yourself so you can grow your authority, build partnerships, and help your business boom. Interviews are about 15 to 20 minutes long, and I'll leave you with my favorite quote: preparation plus opportunity equals success. That's it. I'll see you on the inside. Enjoy this episode. All right. So welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Food and Beverage Leaders Podcast. Today, we have Daryl Gormley from Aquamar. Daryl, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Andy. Glad to be here.
You know, you've got a wealth of experience in the food sector, so you really are a veteran. So coming to the Food and Beverage Leaders Podcast could not be more fitting. So really, thank you for being on today.
Hey, Andy, I really appreciate the opportunity. I think the work you're doing is interesting and helping the industry, and I'm glad to be part of it.
Outstanding. So, Daryl is the CEO of Aquamar, and he has some time with various other food groups for, let's see, how long have you been in the food business, Daryl?
Oh, like 35 years now, Andy. It goes quickly. It's amazing to say that number out loud, but it's been a blast.
Outstanding. So Aquamar, how did you start working with Aquamar and the seafood processing business?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking that. It was an interesting point in my career because I was working on what I wanted to do next, and I was looking at opportunities that were available in food manufacturing, and here was an industry in cerimi. And so, really my first option in was to look at the cerimi market and the cerimi business and say, is that an attractive industry? And I love the chance to work in cerimi. Here you've got a centuries-old product, that was born out of Japan and is an Asian heritage product. So if you're of Asian descent in the U.S., likely that you grew up with cerimi. Also true if you're Latino heritage, probably a pantry item for you. So a really great category in terms of a wonderful and rich heritage. But also when you think about the contemporary market, even beyond the heritage, cerimi is a really interesting product line because it's a good source of protein. It comes from a sustainable fishery. It's healthy and flexible in terms of how you use it, and it's also affordable. And so when you think about the consumer interest today in protein, I think cerimi is really well positioned to compete effectively. So really attractive category for me. And so then, when I was looking at the opportunity with cerimi, I'm looking at Aquamar, and I really liked how Aquamar was positioned in the marketplace because we're sitting in a marketplace that has a dearth of innovation, really. I remember when cerimi was introduced into North America in the 80s, late 70s, 80s, and it was brought in as imitation crab. And Andy, if you and I could go back in time and pull a package off the shelf from like 1981,
sure,
and lay it next to a package today, chances are the product looks almost exactly the same and is almost exactly the same. And so, when you think about, all of the innovation that's happened, like in the transportation world, for example, if you think about just in your world in the last 5 years, how much innovation there's been, and you look at cerimi and really very little innovation in the last 40 years. And then you think about, well, how could that be? And, if you look at how cerimi is positioned in the market, you've got all of these really large companies who are in the fishing and fillet business. And so, they are out running fleets of fishing vessels, and they're doing really hard work to catch fish in order to get the fillet. And the cerimi comes along with that, and it's a byproduct stream for them.
I was going to ask, Daryl, so for our listeners that are, food and beverage leaders, but maybe not, very familiar with actual seafood, if you could just take a minute and describe what is surimi? Is it imitation crab? Is it what exactly is it? Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Andy. So surimi's been around for hundreds of years, and it's a seafood product. So it's made from a whitefish, and it is a fish. It starts as a fish paste, and then is made into a whole variety of different products. So you can make it into a fillet type product. You can make it into in the Asian culture, you'll see fish balls, which are products that are consumed on a daily basis, and for the U.S. and North America in particular, surimi was brought to the country as imitation crab meat. And so you'll see crab flakes and crab leg, and it's a crab flavored whitefish product that's made out of the parts of the fish that don't make it into the fillet.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying, because I think a lot of it that helps. We're sushi eaters, and there's a lot of imitation crab in sushi.
Totally.
Going based off of our industry overview, salmon, the demand for that is, I don't know the stats, but it's basically supposed to double basically in the next 10 years or something in the US. Is that the same with surimi?
No, surimi's growing. It's growing, but it's growing at a lesser rate. So we've been growing at a good clip at Aquamar. We grew at 16% in the back half of the year, 26% in the first half of this year. So nice. Strong growth, but it's really driven by taking market share. And if you look at the industry is growing at a much more modest rate, like maybe 2 to 4%. But I think it has that same potential because again, you've got a really flexible, good source of protein from a sustainable fishery that is readily affordable, like more affordable than a lot of other proteins that are out there.
Very good. Very good. And when you look at the industry as a whole, what's going on? Are there mergers and acquisition? Are there new companies entering the seafood space and the surimi space? Are they leaving? Is it kind of steady? What's the picture like?
Great question. So there's been a lot of consolidation over the last few years in the industry. And there's a lot of activity right now in seafood. So you've got new entrants in seafood coming from other parts of the world to the U.S. because the U.S. is an attractive seafood market and growing. Mm-hmm. And so we see that happening, which we think is going to be good for the market because it'll bring additional products and additional competition to the market. I personally really like it because there's a lot of room for innovation. We started talking about the fact that there hasn't been so much innovation in the industry, but I think a lot of that for surimi is it's been viewed as a byproduct stream. And so if I look at my competitors, outside of Aquamar, those guys get up every day and they're thinking about fishing vessels and quotas and, managing the fillet business, huge business, really important business. And, if I talk to them on the phone, they talk about all those things. And if I could stay on the phone long enough with them, they eventually will get to surimi. And for us at Aquamar, that's all we do. So we get up every day thinking about surimi. We go to bed every night thinking about surimi. And as a result, we invest in the category in a different way. And so, we think there's an opportunity to bring innovation to the marketplace and a marketplace that really hasn't had innovation in the last 40 years.
Very good. Very good. So, with specializing in surimi, what type of innovation or new products or new things that you've thought about developing or bringing onto the market soon, especially with COVID, maybe is the demand more or less right now? How did you weather COVID?
Yeah. So COVID challenging for everybody. And we were operating through COVID, as an essential provider. We worked through COVID and challenging time for everybody. Everybody's got their own COVID story, but for us, it was an opportunity to grow share by bringing value both to the food service segment and to the retail segment, and we look to continue to do that. If you and I went out right now, Andy, and we talked to some people on the street, and we said, "Hey, let's talk about seafood," and how you eat seafood. If we talk to them, eventually, at some point in the conversation, people invariably say, I should probably eat more seafood. And so we hear that all the time. I hear it personally, and we hear it from a business perspective. People say, I should eat more seafood. And then when you ask them why they don't, you hear things like, well, I don't know how to prepare it. I really don't know how to make it at home. And, when I make it, it makes my apartment or my house smell bad. And my family's not really excited about the opportunity to eat something that might have bones in it. And, I live in an apartment myself in New York, and it's my neighbors, God bless them. I eat a lot of seafood, and they've said things to me in the hallway. They're like, yeah, you had seafood last night. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, because, my apartment will smell like seafood, and,
Right.
so will the hallway, and my poor neighbors. But it's an interesting validation of some of the issues that people have with eating seafood. So they want to eat more seafood, but they don't, because they really don't know how to prepare it, or there's challenges with preparation. And, as we think about innovation and what we can do with the market now, like right now in 2021 and going forward, we've got the opportunity to help people overcome those challenges by preparing it for them. We make cerimi, but we're cooking fish. So, I can help people with that. We'll cook it for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Blue Apron, they come out with the curated meals. Do you guys,
Sure.
have you thought about some sort of or maybe you already have a product that can be delivered and that's, all ready to go, and all you got to do is follow the 5 steps?
Oh yeah. And honestly, Andy, I think we can make it even easier than that. I love the guys at Blue Apron. I respect what they're doing. And I think we can provide product that's already cooked. And so you don't have to even do the final preparation. You just have to assemble the meal. And so for us, if we prepare the fish for them, we think we can take away a lot of those challenges. And that's what we do. We are cooking fish every day. So we're really happy to do that. If you look at consumption of seafood, 75% of seafood in the country is consumed in food service, in restaurants.
Sure. Yeah.
But only 25% of the meals are consumed in restaurants. And so you look at that imbalance and you think, well, why would that be? Well, people don't want to prepare it at home. And so we think if we can give it to them prepared at home, we can help them eat more seafood, and we can grow the category.
That makes sense. Yeah. And I love the fact that, you're, like you said, you cook it. It's already cooked. So your apartment's not going to smell, you can, yeah. It's already there, happy neighbors, happy life.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
My neighbors will appreciate it when I can bring home pre-cooked fish. I'm pretty confident they'll be glad. Funny. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing we see, of course, is in innovation is we see plant-based seafood, and plant-based is so huge right now. If you think about, Impossible and the burger business, and we think there's an opportunity also with plant-based seafood. And, for people who are sensitive to sustainability and they're thinking about fish welfare, which are 2 big considerations for consumers.
Yeah.
And they may even be concerned about like mercury poisoning if you were eating a larger predator fish, like a swordfish.
Sure.
There's mercury risk. And so, people are interested in plant-based broadly. And we think there's an opportunity of plant-based seafood. And so we're working in that space as well. And so we think we can bring a plant-based line to the market.
I think that'd be a home run. Yeah, I think, not everyone, but there's a big, obvious, push to health conscious, being more, there's Beyond Meat. There's just so many, so much innovation going to a healthier diet, right? And
absolutely. Yeah. And we think we can be part of that in seafood, and we think we can be part of that in plant-based as well. And it's interesting. I've eaten Beyond and Impossible burgers, and I think they're excellent. I think they eat really well. And as a person working in the food industry for years, and I say this with respect and an admiration for what they've been able to do, I think that in addition to eating well, people will also be sensitive to the ingredient statement and to the nutrition, and eventually that'll become more important again. And we think we can meet them there. Consumers right there. So, a plant-based line from Aquamar won't have the ingredient statement that, makes consumers concerned, or, it'll also, I think, have a nutrition statement that, or nutritional performance that are going to make people feel good about what they're eating.
That's great. That's fantastic. I personally, I try to, I don't go line by line through the ingredients, but I do pay attention and try to, less carbs. And, I love salmon and seafood. I'm going to definitely try some more surimi.
All right.
So, Daryl, as we look at the close of the episode, is there anything like a closing words or maybe ways to connect? Anything you want to leave our listeners to remember with?
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. And I was excited to come on because I wanted to invite the opportunity to collaborate with people who will hear this or see this, in your podcast. And so, the journey continues. Like, we feel like we've got an interesting proposition going to market, but boy, we'd love to collaborate. And if people could reach out to me, you can reach out to me at daryl.gormley@aquamar.net. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Daryl-Gormley-BBA11B27. And I love the opportunity to collaborate. And I think we can help people connect with seafood and help them make small steps in their diet to live a healthier life. And I'd love to be able to do that with others.
Daryl Gormley, appreciate your time with us today. And Aquamar, what's the best way to try Aquamar?
Oh, love that. So you can find locations on our website, Aquamar, or you can go to retailers in your area. If you go to your Walmart or go to an Aldi, go to ShopRite, you'll be able to connect with our product. The other way that you can eat our product is we're really well represented in Asian restaurants. So anywhere you're going to eat sushi, in a restaurant, likely that you're going to have an opportunity to experience Aquamar product.
Outstanding. Well, Daryl, thanks again for being on, and we look forward to trying some great surimi.
That's fantastic, Andy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening to the Food and Beverage Leaders Podcast. I'm Andy Barr with Barr Transportation. Now, if you are a successful leader in the food and beverage space, believe in your company, and want to share your story, really look no further. All you have to do is go to bartrans.com/podcast/apply to apply to be on the show. Lastly, if you enjoyed listening to our show, please consider sharing the link or a screenshot on your social media accounts. We want to help as many people as possible who truly believe education and discussion is where it all starts. Of course, if you know someone that would be a great guest, connect with us and we'll explore to see if it's a good fit. Again, thank you for listening to the Food and Beverage Leaders Podcast. And as always, we'll leave you with our favorite quote: preparation plus opportunity equals success. Now go crush life, and we'll see you again soon.